Now, I would also like to draw your attention to this thing. As you can see, this is 2007, 2008, 2009. Okay. In 2000, in fact, for 1999, the enrollment of science of SSC exam registration was around 30%. Now in 2007, and I know about the statistics of 2008 and 9, this enrollment has actually gone to around 20%. So in 10 years, the enrollment of science exam registration have almost gone down by 10%. And this has actually gone to this thing, like commerce thing. And with this thing, and as you can see at this news clipping, মানবিকে পরীক্ষার্থী বেশি, পাস কম, বিজ্ঞানের পরীক্ষার্থী কম, পাস বেশি। With this thing, we are only producing only 50,000 yearly science graduates at graduate level, because I have shown you that 2 lakh is the total population for the whole education system every year, 2 lakh. But of that, only 20% are actually, 20-25% are coming into the science stream. Now, an economy of around 160 million people, which is growing at a 6-7%, and which we expect to grow at a 7-8%, we have to seriously think that whether this economy can be sustained by only 50,000 yearly science graduates. And mind it, out of this 50,000, almost 50% of those will actually migrate, or they might not actually choose a professional track. They might be doing a lot of other things. So roughly, probably you are left with only 20-30,000 yearly science professionals in the job market. So we have to seriously question that whether this is enough number for sustaining a high growth economy like ours. We are having almost 1 lakh BBAs every year, but we also need to ask whether the country needs so many BBAs where so little science graduates. And these science graduates, obviously a lot of those people will also go into the medical profession, a lot of those in teaching profession, all of those things. So we need to ask about this thing, whether at one stage our economy will only just stop, like the power is not there, that's why our industry is not growing. So at one stage, and probably the stage are already come, that our industries are not growing because of this crisis. Now, some recommendation from our IT industry for the National Strategic Plan. I don't know whether you can actually look at it from back. The government should immediately make a 5-year projection for technical people requirement, and based on that, there should be a national action plan to be jointly implemented by government and private sector both. Now, this is another issue that I would like to draw the kind attention of one of our special guests, who is currently the treasurer of National University. Now, under National University, in fact, almost 80% of the higher education of the country, there are around 1,500 colleges. And in fact, the tertiary system, the education system, though we talk about a lot of universities, public universities, private universities, but the major part, almost 80% of the part, is actually supplied by these 1,500 colleges under our national universities. Those graduates, unfortunately, remain unemployed after their graduation program, because the issue that I have previously mentioned, that most of those subjects are not demand driven. They probably enroll in those subjects because there is an opportunity there, and after those colleges, mostly they are not prepared to give those the current demand of technical education. So most of these colleges do not have any modern technology or applied subject. So one of our strong recommendations for the last few years, that IT subjects should be introduced immediately in those colleges. Currently, out of these 1,500 colleges, we don't think that more than 50 to 60 colleges have those IT subjects. We know that our Professor Kaji Farooq, when he was heading one National University college, he actually introduced the computer science subject in that college in Dhaka. So, but I think this should be replicated, because we as a IT industry need a lot of people. We have only 4,000 graduates coming out every year, but our position is that we would need not less than 10,000 IT graduates. So for this thing, we cannot only depend on public university or private university, and we in fact depend very little on private universities, because the migration rate of those private universities, particularly urban migration rate, is quite high. So we depend on a lot of students who are coming from universities outside Dhaka, and we think that these colleges can be a very important pipeline for those supply. So we recommend that at least one college in every district should introduce this computer science or IT subject immediately. Now, another short-term thing, we strongly suggest that the capacity of CS and engineering of all the public universities should be doubled to increase the yearly output. Currently, the public university have got at least good infrastructure. So, if even probably evening shifts can be introduced in those public universities, then I think it can probably help us in mitigating our very current need. And for an industry readiness, separate institute should be formed under a public-private partnership model. No matter how large the supply from these universities or institutes can be, there will be obviously a need for bridging between the industry requirement and what they are actually learning. So that is why for even in other parts of the world or even in India, there are institutes which gives like 3 months to 6 months industry orientation training. And we can say, I can just share that in India there are big companies like Tata, Infosys, Wipro. They have themselves established huge amount of campus where the fresh graduates go and take 3 months to 6 months orientation course before they actually join the real jobs. So unfortunately, most of our companies are not big enough to have their own training institutes like big Indian companies. That is why there has to be a separate type of institutional arrangement. Probably that can be run by any of the like Bangladesh Computer Council or even like BICC or even jointly. So those can be actually put in place so that those university graduates can, before they join, they can be made much more industry ready. Okay. Now career awareness should be done at a national level. Now we talked about the alarming rate of declining science education. So I think government or policymakers need to give a clear signal to the society that in next 5 years or next 10 years, the technology jobs are going to be the mainstream jobs. In fact, even not only in the country but also in the outside world. Currently, if you just make a survey of the professionals working in other parts of the world, be it USA or Australia and any other countries, you will see that at least 80 to 90% of those professionals who have migrated doing professional jobs, not very low-level jobs. The professional jobs are still majority are still in the technology areas. So these messages has to be transmitted, and proper awareness needs to be created among the guardians, among the students, and among the teachers also, so that they feel motivated to actually study in IT subject, not only IT subject, but in technology subjects, in science subjects, and all those things. And another thing I have not mentioned, that currently the grading system, at SSC and HSC level, the grading system is in fact motivates the students to choose commerce or in the commerce, not science, because a lot of teachers have said that, well, I know that this student is not that much, not very high level, but is a medium level. If that person gets enrolled in a commerce subject, he can easily get A. But if that person gets enrolled in a science, getting A is very difficult. So that actually this system, incentive system or grading system actually pushes that person to other subjects than science subjects. I think that needs also to be done. So we also think that unfortunately the very weighted, much weighted education policy that has been adopted by the current government last year, we have not found enough direction, particularly with regard to this declining science education thing. So I think still government is very much open in receiving any kind of suggestion for the education policy. So I think we know that we have got at least one member who is in fact in the board of that education committee drafting. So I think this science enrollment issue needs to be seriously considered. So I don't want to take much of your time, so I thank you, and I hope the discussion will actually carry also.